What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Building Through Strength. I hope everybody had a good day. Hope you're having a good day, or hope your day is starting off pretty well. Um, my day was good today, and it was honestly just a blessing. It was a blessing to have the people around me that I love. It was a blessing to be able to have the struggles that I had. It was a blessing to just be alive, be breathing, man. I'm telling y'all, and I worked out at the gym for the first time in the morning in a very long time, rather than just going after work. Because I just want to switch things up. I want to change my schedule a little bit to try and work some things around. And man, it was great. I felt a lot more energetic at work. I felt more awake. And then I got me a good little biscuit, cup of coffee on the way. So that was a good little pick me up. And I was listening to a podcast on the way to work, just about discipline, about pushing yourself and getting to where you want to be. And it made me think about, what does success look like? What do I want success to look like for for myself and for my life? And it really isn't about wanting money. It isn't about being the happiest, well, it's not about being the richest person ever. It's not about being the person with the nicest car, nicest clothes, but it's just about being happy. And not really just being happy, but loving people and loving myself enough to the point where, like, I can just look back and see the fruits of my labor, and they're good fruits. So, I did some looking, um you know did some research, did some diving, and I wanted to make it a podcast because, well, an episode on the podcast, because I think we tend to get what success looks like mixed up a lot. I think we tend to think of success as monetary values. We think of success as, oh, people, this amount of people are looking at me and I have this amount of money, but it's really not. That's what culture says. Our culture says that your success is how much money you have, how popular you are, how powerful you are, and the status that you have. But what I've been learning in these past couple of weeks, that self success is obedience to God, stewardship, and pl- and stewarding his word, stewarding his love, showing other people his word, showing other people his love. And through that, you find love for yourself, you find love for other people. I was listening to this one video on Instagram, and the guy basically talked about how the 10 commandments are the old law, in the Old Testament, and the 10 commandments are the commandments that Moses gave the Israelites as they were leaving Egypt. And he was like, "There's not only 10 laws that we have to obey as Christians, but it's about 600 of those laws, but they can be condensed down to two things. It can be condensed down to love thy neighbor as thyself, and it was love thy neighbor as thyself, and then love God, put no other gods before him." And honestly, like, if you do those two things, then there's like then you're following all of the rest of the commandments. And I was like, dang, like, am I really doing that? I checked myself for a second, because there's sometimes where I don't love my neighbor as I love myself, or I don't love my neighbor as I should love myself sometimes. Or sometimes I do prioritize work over my quiet time, or I prioritize my workout regimen, or any workout plan, over you know listening to gospel music and having a little worship session with God. And it's those little things. And when I feel that I am prioritizing God, and I feel like I'm putting God first, then everything else kind of snowballs and it rolls in together. So, my little tip to you guys is, that's all you have to do. That's really just find a way to love God, in a way that it makes you want to be better for God. And if you don't have that relationship with Him, think about it as how do you build a relationship with a friend, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, husband, wife? How do you build a relationship with anybody? You don't just walk up to them and tap them and be like, "Hey, we're best friends now," or "Hey, we're boyfriend girlfriend now." No, you walk up to them. Well, you don't walk up to them, but you build that relationship with them. You talk to them, ask them about their day. You ask them questions. You tell them about yourself. They tell themselves about they tell you about themselves. Just building that relationship, talking, getting to know them. That's how we build that relationship with God. That's how we know who God is. Just like that's how we know who our friends are. We know our friend's favorite color, but do we know what God said about fleeing from lust? Like you guys, see what I'm talking about? Um, but back to success. I think the biggest thing that I've been trying to learn myself, one of the biggest things that I've been struggling with is my discipline. Discipline in your body leads to discipline in your life. If you wake up every morning and you go to the gym, or you wake up every morning, you get in your Bible, you wake up every morning and journal, you're building that discipline so that even on the days that you don't want to do it, you're still doing it, and you may learn something or get something out of it that you never even thought that you would have. Um, with me, my biggest discipline problem is probably just focusing on what I need to focus on. I tend to let my mind run. I tend to let my mind wander all the time, and I kind of put myself in a shell sometimes. If I'm not being productive, if I'm not getting the things done that I need to get done, sometimes I'll feel like I'm in a rough spot, and I'm still trying to work through that. So if you're in the same place as me right now, like the only thing that we can do with it is just work through it. Find a reason why you should work through it. If you're struggling to go to the gym, um, just show up. If you that's my brother. He said it one day. He was like, sometimes if you just don't want to go to the gym, just take some pre-workout, and you'll be in the gym in 30 minutes. I tell you that. But find a way to force yourself to do what you don't want to do when you know it's going to set you up. I'm not saying, force yourself to do something that you don't want to do that's bad, but um I think of it as when you're in track and you're training for track, there's this drill that you do where it's like a falling run. So you stand up upright, and you get up on your tippy toes and you just fall forward. And when you fall forward, your momentum and your weight is going to carry you forward, and eventually you're going to put that first foot on the ground. Once that first foot is on the ground, you just start running because your momentum is carrying you forward, and it helps with your running posture. It helps with your stride length, and it just keeps you going. It makes you faster. It makes you more explosive, and that's how we can go with life. It's if you standing there, you standing upright, and you like, okay, like I got to do something. I got to go. Just push yourself forward, fall forward, and eventually you will keep going. You will go somewhere. 1% is better than 0%. If you find a way to take take that first step, then you're doing more than 90% of people who aren't. You're doing 100% better than people who aren't taking that first step because you actually took that step. And that's why we hear so many success stories. That's how we hear so many stories of people starting businesses and becoming so rich and famous and everything because they took that first step. You hear about how Apple was started in a garage, and or Microsoft or whatever was started in a garage, and all they did was just show up. That's all we can do is just show up every single day and just keep on working. Um, on the spiritual side, you know, it's not it's not wrong to want success. It's not wrong to want to be rich. It's not wrong to want to be popular. But how are we pursuing that wealth, and how are we pursuing that fame and that power can be wrong. So, how do we find a way to align our ambition? How do we find a way to align our goals and what we have for life? How do we find a way to line that up with God's will for us? How do we pray to God and ask, let your will be done and carry that out? If you have a dream of becoming a singer, you don't you don't get there by just sitting around not doing anything, but you you get to that dream by practicing, by trusting God, by taking the opportunities that God might give you, by praying to him about different opportunities that may come along the way. Matthew chapter 6 verse 33 says, "Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you." Like, if we just pray about it before we do it, before we go about it, then everything else unfolds itself. You get that discernment of, okay, this is a good idea, this isn't a good idea. You are able to see things a lot more clearly than what it may seem. Success without God is empty. I'm telling you, like, there's so many rich people nowadays, they get so much money and then, like, they don't know what to do with it. When we die, we don't die with our money. Our money doesn't go with us to the grave. And when you go to heaven or hell, you don't you don't go to heaven or hell with your money. You can't buy your way into heaven. You can't buy yourself out of hell. So why are we sitting here living our lives so caught up in what we do now and how we do it now, when we could be living them in ways that would set us up for the kingdom of heaven, you know? And just thinking about success, like, bro, everybody wants it. Everybody wants to be rich. Everybody wants to be famous. But, if you get there, bro, how do you handle it? That's a big thing. How do I feel? How do I handle the feeling of I've made it without losing who I am, losing who I truly am? How do I stay humble when I am successful? And then bandle ba- how do I balance that joy with the gratitude that I have? And that was something that I dealt with throughout high school. That was something that I dealt with throughout college. Was I had success. I had a starting spot. I had playing time at a Division 1 level. I played in those games. I did good, had great stats here, there, and here, there, and all that stuff. But once the clock hit zero and I was back in my room, I didn't feel as successful as I did on that field. And that's when it gets to the point where, like, that's when it's like, man, oh man, like, mind on body. And I wish I had somebody to tell me how to handle it, or teach me how to handle it, or help me handle it. And turning to the Bible, Philippians 4:12 says, I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty." But the famous verse 13 says, "I can do all things through him who gives me strength." Everything that we do on the field, off the field, at work, at home, at school, we can do anything that we set our mind to when God is the one who gives us the strength. You hear Philippians 4:13 all the time, but do we truly believe that God is the one who gives us strength? Not us, not ourselves. Like, we sometimes go thinking that we give ourselves the strength when God is the one who woke us up in the morning. God is the one who provided food for us that we eat, whether it's in the kitchen, whether it's somebody giving us a snack, giving us something to drink. Like, God provided all of that. So if we take that into how we handle our lives, God gives us strength for every single aspect of our lives. So one, my thing is like, why am I not giving it back to him? Why am I not glorifying him for what he did for me? And I want to just tell you guys about it. I want you guys to understand where I'm coming from and feel the same things that I'm feeling because bro, it's so lonely being successful on the outside, but you not feeling successful on the inside. I dealt with it for so long and not knowing why I didn't feel successful on the inside. Like I felt like nothing was enough. I had 1,000. I threw for like a thousand. Let's say I threw for 1,000 yards, but for some reason, like I felt like it wasn't enough because I didn't throw for 1,500. It. I made it to Division 1 college, but I felt like it wasn't enough because it wasn't a Power 5 school. It wasn't ACC, SEC. And I'm not telling you guys to be comfortable in the situation or being comfortable in where you at, but appreciate it. I never appreciated where I was. Right now with my life, like, bro, I'm so appreciative of the little things that I have. Like I have great friends. I have great parents. I was on the phone with my mom before I decided to start recording, but just talking to her and talking to my dad and just being able to have the people around me, being able to wake up in the morning and take a step out of bed. Like y'all don't realize like a lot of people cannot wake up in the morning and take a step out of bed. They have to get help to get out of bed. They have to, somebody has to be there to help them. Like if you're able-bodied, that is a blessing. If you can talk, some people can't talk, some people can't hear, some people can't see. That's a blessing, bro. So why are we not appreciating what we have right in front of us? It's all about appreciating the small blessings that we have. That's literally all it is, man. What what does success look like for you? What does success look like for you today? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? But most importantly, where do you see yourself when you die? Do you see yourself going to heaven? Do you see yourself going to hell? And I'm not the one to answer that, but that's totally up to you. Um, I heard this one TikTok. Uh, I don't want to say it was Ryan Seacrest, but it was a very famous male actor, and he was asked, "Who's your role model in five? Well, who's your role model?" And the guy took a while, and he was like, "I'll come back to you on that." So some time goes by, and he ends up talking to the guy, and the guy, this kid, this dude's like 20 years old right now, but the guy was like, he sees him 5 years later, and he's like, no, he sees him at 20, and then he's like, how, like, who's your role model? And the guy was like, it's me at 25. He's like, oh, okay, cool, like that's smooth. So he asked him, guy turned 25, and he was like, well, all right, you're 25 now. Who's your role model? And the guy said, well, it's me at 30. He's like, what? He's like, okay, cool. 5 years go by. He sees him when he turns 30. He's like, all right, who's your role model now? And the guy's like, well, it's me at 35. And basically, what the guy was saying is like, your role model is him 5 years later. Everybody wants to be like their role model. So if I want to be like my role model, I want to be like the person that I know that I can be 5 years from now. And like that one stuck with me. Like, so now I'm 22 years old. I want to be like the person that I am when I'm 27. And when I get to 27, 32, and so on and so forth, because I want to be a great dad. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better friend, and my thinking now is like, how can I get there? If I can get there, then I truly do think that I would be successful. And I don't even think that. I know that I would be successful. So your your practical takeaway for the day is build daily habits in all four areas: body, mind, soul, and your heart. What does that look like? For me personally, me building habits and me think of it as four different pets. How you have to feed every different pet differently. So for physical, for your body, I work out every day. I try to work out every single day, 6 days a week. Seventh day is the Lord's day. It's active rest. Go for a walk, stretch, do something to get your body back recovered and loosened up from the week. Mind, mentally, what do you do mentally? I journal. I type my feelings out, talk my feelings out. Soul, religious, spiritual. I pray, talk to God, read my Bible, play some worship music at times when I don't feel like listening to worship music, and heart, emotional. I talk to people, tell people like, hey, I did have a rough day when they ask me about my day. Things like that. And the last thing I want to leave you guys with is success is not just about reaching the top. It's about staying faithful when you get there. I heard a pastor say on Sunday that there are mountains and there are valleys in our lives. Everybody knows that. But the thing is, once you get to the top of your mountain, you're going to see higher mountains. You're going to see taller mountains. You're going to see bigger mountains. And you're going to want to climb those mountains. But the thing is, in order to climb those mountains, in order to even get to those mountains, you have to go through valleys of your own. With every mountain, there's going to be two valleys. Whether we like it or not, every mountain, there's going to be two valleys. The only thing for us is, are we going to go through those valleys? Are we going to choose to go through those valleys? And here's the kicker. Here's what I did not know when I was 15, when I was 18, when I was 20. When I was 21, I didn't know this. When I was a couple months ago, I didn't know this. But you don't have to go through those valleys alone. It's harder to go through those valleys alone, actually. Everybody says that it's lonely at the top. It's lonely at the top. And yes, it is very lonely at the top. So why can't we bring people along with us to get to the top? You don't have to be on the top by yourself. That's all I have for you guys, man. I really do appreciate it. Find a way to be successful today. You don't have to have the most money. You don't have to have the best car, but you can be the happiest person that you can be. Find a way to love yourself in a way that you never thought that you could. Appreciate y'all. Keep 2 feet down. Keep one head up. Forever and for always, everybody. 143. Peace.